Have a glass of water so you can stay hydrated. Make your way down. Bring your fingertips to your low belly, elbows out, tuck your shoulder blades in, and create constructive rest pose. In constructive rest pose, the toes are pointing straight ahead, and the low back can release a little with the knees bent. Take a few moments and just arrive with your breath. Inhale deeply, and exhale completely. And again, inhale, exhale, and walk your feet and your knees in. Your ankle bones touch, your knees touch, and then just lift your hip, push down with your feet, lift your low back just a flat hands distance, and resettle, either tipping to the side or forward and back until you land right into center. And swish your knees gently to the left, back to center, and to the right. Take your time, go nice and slow. Allow your body to receive this gentle movement, releasing any tension across the low back through the hips. And we often think about the back body when we do this because the sensations of rolling are right there. But with your hands on your low belly, also notice there's a little diagonal pull from one hip to the opposite rib cage. Again, just stretching and gently moving the whole body. So a reminder that the whole body receives even a simple, sweet movement like this. So let's come back to center. Walk your feet and your knees about hips distance. And as you exhale, so we practiced this on Wednesday, and I would like to reintroduce it to you again. It's very subtle, but quite different for your core body. So imagine like this heavy weight coming down and landing right on your belly. So we're not going to tip the pelvis, we're going to just bring the navel to the back. And so just notice you have no waistline, but it's not from your pelvis tipping, it's from the weight pressing down, and then release that. Let's do that 2 times. Keep your sacrum on the floor. Exhale, press down with your belly. And when you're ready, inhale. One more. Exhale, press straight down. So think about that weight coming right down, pressing down, your sacrum still on the floor, and then release that. Then a subtle shift to a pelvic tilt. So when we exhale, this time, draw the pubic bone towards your navel and just let your sacrum and your tailbone lift a little. Now you have no waistline, but it's because your pelvis is tipping towards you. And then release that. And we'll do that 2 times with the breath. Exhale in. Inhale, release. And one more. Exhale. Now hold this one. Keep breathing, of course, but pressing, tipping your pelvis. Check in with your feet. Did you collapse to the outside or the inside? Or can you find the 4 corners of your feet, even in this position, this supine pelvic rock? And then release that. Let's bring the right knee up towards the chest and hug it in and relax the shoulders. As we extend, nice and slow baby steps, the left leg, flex your left foot, lift your left knee a little bit, press your right thigh a little away from your belly, but not so much that your shoulders hunch, release those too. This is the beginning of the journey into the psoas. So as we dive into that a little bit deeper, just as a reminder, the psoas comes from the top of your upper thigh, up and around the pelvis, and then connects sort of up by your diaphragm actually. So breath and psoas are really deeply connected. And it's so deep in your body that we don't really notice it, like we can't flex it like we do our arm. It's nice and deep. And then lift your knee, relax your shoulders. This is Uttanasana pose, much like a runner's lunge for your body, if we can kind of think of that upside down runner's lunge. And slide your left foot towards you, plant it, bring your right foot to the floor, and hug your left knee in. So you can have your hands behind your knee crease if you prefer that, or on top of your shin. And if neither one of those work, you can also fold a strap across your shin bone. And then hop your right foot, flex your right foot, lift your right knee, and try to find neutral spine. Draw your belly in a little bit. Draw the left knee towards you, relax your shoulders. Rotate your right thigh in a little and lift your right knee. So there's no locking of the right knee. And then again, as we dive deeper into the psoas muscle, it's also called the primal muscle, in that it is affected deeply by the fight, flight, or freeze response in our bodies. And it also loses its tone from all of our sitting. So it's a really important group of muscles to explore, not just in back here, but anytime. It attaches your top of your body to your bottom of your body, and that's pretty important, I'd say. One more deep breath. Now glide your right heel back toward you and plant your right foot. Bring your left foot down too. Let that settle in constructive rest pose. And sway the knees. Now the feet are hip distance apart as you sway the knees to the left and to the right. Make your movement nice and slow, not in a hurry. And bringing that back into center, we'll go ahead and use the strap in our Supta Pada Kunstasana big toe pose. Can't get away from this one, and we'll talk about it once we get there. So bring your right knee in again, but this time take the strap to the bottom of your foot, make a loop with your hands. This is just a nice way not to have to grip with your fingers. Bend your right knee, flex your right foot, and walk your right hip a little bit away from your back waistline. Press up into the strap. So it's important here that you keep a little micro bend to your right knee. And as you look at your right foot, you're not collapsing into your little toe or your big toe evenly, the pressure of your foot in the strap. And then you can also begin to just stay right here if you like, or again, hop your left foot, flex it, lift your left knee, relax your shoulders down. And begin to express energy up and out through your feet. But again, there's this little contradiction to that because the knees are a little bit bent as we press up and out. So what's happening here? It's a pretty amazing pose. We're supine on the floor, so we have the floor to help us recognize when our spine is in neutral. And from here, the right leg, we're approaching the hamstrings in the back of the right leg. But the left leg, here's those hip flexors again, the psoas muscle, lots of other groups, but just press up into the strap a little, so that little micro bend to your knee. Nice deep breath. Slide your left foot up, slip your right foot out of the strap, bend your right knee. And let's go ahead and bring the left knee up and take the strap to the left foot. Make the loops around your hands. It's my recommendation. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Bend your knee a little. Reach up through your heel. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Find that neutral spine. Before you extend your right leg, just note if your pattern is to lift your hip off the floor so you're resting on your back waistline instead of across the back of your pelvis. If that's the case, it's no problem. You can easily remedy that by dropping your left hip down. So think descend. And then wiggling your shoulders, finding that neutral spine with that little whisper of an arch at your back waistline. You might need to bend your knee quite a bit to find that. And then when you're ready, walk your right foot, flex it, lift your right knee, relax your shoulders down. Press up into the strap a little bit. And take some beautiful, sweet, deep breaths into your body. Follow your breath in, follow your breath out. Give ourselves ample time to explore. And when you're ready, let's glide the right heel, bring it back towards you, plant your right foot, slip your left foot out of the strap, bend your left knee, and bring your left foot to the floor. Swish your knees again just a couple times to the left and to the right. Now come back into center, move your strap aside. Here's where we have an option to either use a yoga block across the low back, or a tightly rolled blanket or small bolster, or you can also use a block with a blanket on top if you want a little cushion. I'm going to use the block because I think it might be easier for you to see what I'm up to. But again, make it your own. So we come up into a little bit of bridge. Lift your hips and slide the block, or the blanket, or the combination. And make sure you're just right on the back of your pelvis, your sacrum. Plant your feet. This is supported bridge. Not a lot of effort here, but still a beautiful pose. So let's start by gliding the left leg. Let your left heel center on your mat. Now, if this already is pulling you forward, there's quite a bit of an arc going on right here, but draw your belly in a little so you feel nicely supported. Center your heel, lift your left knee a little. Now the right foot is your foundation, so find all four corners of your feet. Already something wonderful is happening. So again, the psoas muscle is getting a little bit of a length because of this arc of your hip flexor. That's the nice length and tone. Now we're going to do a little strengthening for that muscle and awaken it a little bit deeper. So from here, lift your left heel and just swish it, brush it gently, just a few inches side to side. And then bring it back to center. So again, this is pretty amazing to me every time this happens. Bring your hands back to your belly, elbows on the floor. And then when you lift your heel and brush again, notice how you can find that sense of the psoas, of those abdominal muscles too, getting a little swish side to side. And then come back into center and relax it. From here, again, rotate your left thigh in a little, just so you're centered on your heel. Lift your left heel and just hover. So the challenge here for me, anyway, is not to lock the left knee, and see if that's possible for you. Press through your foot like you're pushing on a brake pedal. Wiggle your shoulders apart. And then release and relax. I used to say like you're pushing in the clutch, but not everybody knows how to drive a stick. So I switched over to the brake. And let's do that one more time on this side. So rotate your left thigh in just so you're centered on your heel. Plant your right foot, draw your belly in towards the block, and then lift your heel. Bend your left knee a little, press your foot into the brake. Hover. This is like doing sit-ups for your psoas muscle. And then relax it. Ah, lovely. Bend your left knee, bring your left foot to the floor, hold on to your block or your blanket or your bolster, and bring your knees up right over your hips, not in towards your chest, just away. Wiggle on your block a little bit and float your left leg and your right leg with a little bend to the knees. Take a moment. So now that left femur is sinking deeper in the hip socket and releasing the psoas from that deep stretch. Finding the balance in between the two. And when you're ready, let's bend one knee at a time and bring one foot at a time back down to the mat. And just to give that low back a little reprieve, Let's push down with the feet, lift your hips, let it hover off your block or your blanket. Draw your tailbone towards your calves, neck is neutral. Press evenly through the four corners of your feet. Bridge pose. And again, length through the top of your hip flexors. Your glutes are working. And then a slow release back down. We'll need to do the right leg the same as we just did on the left. So start to glide your left foot. Flex it, flex it. Rotate your right thigh in enough that you feel you're centered. Draw your belly, plop it down towards your block. And then swish. So I like to take the hands to the belly just to notice that when you swish your legs, right there, everything is involved. Press your left foot evenly into your mat. Swish your heel a couple more times. And then come back to center with it and relax it. Let's do the little lifts. So rotate your right thigh bone, flex your right foot, and just lift it a little. So the challenge for me is I always get the heel sneaks off the floor. But just if you hover, it's a little deeper because you're creating more of an arc through the top of your hip flexor. So just hover. Press your right foot into the brake pedal. Or step on the gas. And lower. And then relax. Take a breath. And we'll do that one more time on this side. So rotate your right thigh. Center. Not so much that you're pigeon toe, just toes straight up. When you're ready, lift your right heel, press down with your left foot a little. Just let it just brush the mat. Relax your shoulders. Bend your right knee a little as you press out through the foot. And then release it. Bend your right knee, bring your right foot to the floor. Hold on to your block if you like. Bring one knee up at a time. You can stay right here. You don't have to extend your legs if you don't want to, but try to keep your knees right over the hip socket. So now the femur bone can sink deeper there and release the psoas muscle. All right, one leg at a time, only if you want to float them. Bend your knees a little, flex your feet, circle them. This is a good position for you to explore anytime you feel there's any swelling around your ankles, your feet. You can float up like this in waterfall for 5 to 10 minutes, especially if you have your feet up against the wall. All right, here we go. One knee at a time. Bend. Bring one foot down at a time. Come back to your bridge. Plant your feet. Release your hands. One more bridge. So as you push down with your feet, scoop your hips up off the block. Neck is neutral. Draw your tailbone towards your calves. Press evenly through your feet. This will keep your knees aligned with your hips. Use your glutes, your bum. And then exhale, come down, but this time take your block away out to the side. Pull your tailbone towards your calves, towards your heels, and release all the way down. Swish your knees a little to the right and left. Excellent. And then pause. One more movement, supine, laying down before we come up. So let's start on the left leg. We'll bring the left heel up and flex the foot again as we rotate the left thigh. Bend the left knee and bring your ankle bone across. Align your right heel with your right hip. Open your left thigh just a bit, but keep your pelvis aligned. Wiggle your shoulders. Keep that dorsiflexion for your ankle as you press out through the ball of the foot. Imagine your left hip is made of heavy lead and it's just sinking down. So here we are, we've arrived. And at this point we can decide. We're going to just keep the right foot on the floor. or we'll lift it up for a block. Just go a little bit higher. But if you do this, still drop your left hip a little bit. And then you can go on if you like and bring your right knee up over your hip socket. Open it, align it with your shoulder, descend your left hip a little, but keep that dorsiflexion for your ankle to protect your knee. And just relax and breathe around it. So we've shifted the focus in this pose over into the deep six and some of the other muscles around that sort of the outer hip. Take another breath. But as we know, when we focus on one thing, everything else receives. And when you're ready, take your right foot down if it was lifted. Reach up with your left heel. Flex your foot. Now bring your fingertips to your low belly so we can stabilize the pelvis. Look at your toes so that we don't want them to turn out for this movement. Straight back. And your right foot stays on the floor as we begin to slowly lower the left leg. Look down your body at your foot. Start to lower. And then about midpoint hover. Draw your belly in. And at any point from here on, you need to bend your left knee to bring your left foot to the floor. Please do. Maintain the integrity of your pelvis to your mat. So we don't want to tip the pelvis. We'll lose that core strengthener. And we also want to rely upon the psoas, the hip flexors, to lower. Draw your belly in. Look down at your toes. They'll vanish in a moment. And at some point we'll find the yoga mat. There it is. And then relax your left leg. Take a breath. There's a deep quality in creating tension and working the muscle, but then relaxing it. So let's move to the other side. Bend your left knee, left foot to the floor. Reach up with your right heel and flex your foot. Rotate your right thigh, bend your right knee, and bring your ankle bone across the thigh. And then take a moment to align your left heel with your hip. Move your right thigh a little away. Press out through the ball of the foot. Wrap your hands around your hip bones. Wiggle your shoulders. And at this point, we'll just take a pause and decide. Today, right here is where I'm going to be. This is the best place for me to receive. But again, you know yourself best. If you want, take a block beneath your right foot, but still descend your left foot, but still descend your right hip a little. Be careful about your right knee. We don't want torsion there, so that's why we maintain this flexion of the foot. And just decide, okay, this is enough. I'm really enjoying this. Or you can also bring your knee right over your hip. Look down at it, it's not wandering in. And then release your right hip down. Oh, yes, and take some sweet breaths right there. It's like this treasure we've discovered. Take a nice sweet breath into your body. Relax your shoulders. And when you're ready, let's take the left foot to the floor and reach up with your right heel and flex your foot. So again, bring your hands to your belly just for a tactile sense. We don't want the pelvis to tip. Look at your toes, keep them pointing straight back, and begin to lower. Look at your toes. Press your belly down. Anytime you need to, bend your right knee and just bring your right foot to the floor. Continue. At some point, your right heel will find the floor, I promise. And bend your right knee and bring your right foot to the mat. Switch the knees again a couple times. And when you're ready from here, roll to your side and make your way up to hands and knees table pose. So at this moment, you could take your blanket and open it up for your knees. And you could also take a sip of water so we stay hydrated. Create your table, hands and knees. And we'll do a cat back, inhale. And exhale, cow spine. Inhale, cat back. And exhale, cow spine. Let's do one more of those. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. Now take your knees a little wider. Your big toes could touch. Pull your hips back. And you can stay upright here if you like and not go quite so deep. Or you can also come down, stack your hands, and rest your head on your fist or your palms. So come into a deep child's pose. Find the rhythm of your breath. And imagine now that breath is flowing into your back body, across your kidney band. And extend your arms back out. Pull yourself up. Walk your knees in. And we'll come back to that in a moment. And if you feel like you'd like some support for that child's pose, you could take a bolster or a blanket and kind of straddle it a little bit when we come down. So that will be the option in a moment. But again, just for another brief pause, spread your fingers, pull into your thumb and your index fingers, knees hip distance apart. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. So let's continue. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. Pull into the base of your thumb and index finger. The whole spine is involved. The front body draws up into your back. And the heart releases. Let's walk the knees wider again. And if you want to rest on top of a rolled blanket or a bolster, go ahead and set that up. You can kind of straddle it. But if you're all right with just taking your hips back again, go ahead. Stack your hands or your fists to rest. You can have your forehead on your hands, but I'm turning so I can talk to you. And again, this is a beautiful asana or pose in many ways. Balasana, child's pose. And in this way, we can breathe into the back body, expand through the back body, getting into the quadratus lumborum and the QL. And when you're ready, extend your arms again, pull up with your fingers, create your table. So extend your right leg and look at your toes, right aligned with your hip. Draw your belly in. So again, we're focusing a little bit on the psoas today. Lift your belly, your ribs, the back of your skull. Float your right heel. Rotate your thigh in a little. Use your front body to support the length of your spine. Press out through your heel. Half sunbird. It's a lot going on here. Front body lifts to support the length of the back body. And then toe touch. Walk that foot over. Atop your left foot, square up your hips, draw your belly in, and take your left ear towards your left shoulder. So create a bit of a crescent for your spine. So now what's happening in the body the QL in your back is getting a nice stretch, but also your psoas in the front body on the right side. Everything's connected. And hop your right foot back. Now lift your right heel, bend your right knee and bring it up towards your chest in a cat back. And then kick it back out and toe touch. Knee in. Cat back. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. So if your wrists get tender, one of the things to really watch for is that you're pulling your energy into the base of your thumb, your index finger, we're calling that the L of the hand, but all of your knuckles are pressing. This will help a little bit. There's other wrist devices I could recommend for you if you want to get in touch with me. But for now, let's take the left leg out, toes tucked under, lift your belly, and then float your heel. It doesn't have to be very high, but please don't get it any higher than your hip because we don't want to sway back. We want to lift the front body up, the ribs, the belly, the back of the skull. Press through your heel, hover, half sunbird. The front body's working to extend the back body in more of a natural, beautiful spine. And then toe touch and hop your left foot over your right. Try to get on all of your left toes. Draw your inner thighs towards one another. Lift your belly. And then take your right ear towards your right shoulder to create a nice crescent shape for your spine. Make sure your left hip isn't sinking. Lift it up. And take some nice sweet breaths. Your head isn't hanging either. The back of the skull is lifted slightly up. Let's hop the foot over. And then again, we'll bring float the foot so we can bend the knee and come up into a cat back. Push through the floor with all of your knuckles. Extend your leg and toe touch. Knee in. Another cat back. Inhale and exhale. From here, I would love for us to transition into downward facing dog, but I know for some of you that's challenging, especially since we've had so much time on the hands. But if you've never tried this, you might try using your blocks for your hands. It's just that the blocks give a little more give than the floor. So either way, if you would rather just go back into child's pose, that's perfectly fine. But if you want to try a downward facing dog, tuck your toes, lift your hips, and press back. Lots of things to consider. Your feet are hip distance apart. Push with your hands. Bend your knees, swoop your tail up. Now roll your shoulders away from your ears. Lift your belly, your ribs. Think length for your spine. So you're pressing all of your knuckles into the floor or your blocks. And we want the tailbone to point up, not to be pulled down. That's why we bend the knees. Stay for a breath. When you're ready, you can begin to walk your hands towards your feet or your feet towards your hands. And if you've been in child's pose all this time, bring yourself up onto standing on your knees and then come into a forward fold and join us. So if you want to use your blocks for your fold, you certainly could. Also bend your knees quite a bit. Draw your belly in. Come into all of the four corners of your feet. So if you find you're leaning forward on your toes, try to sink a little more onto your heels. Wiggle your hands into your hip creases. Pull down with your hips. Push through the floor. And rise up. Take your time, especially if you feel a little dizzy. Have a sip of water. Roll your shoulders up, back, and down. So again, inhale up, back, and down. Beautiful. From here, let's do a little balance pose, and then we'll transition into a bit of lunge, low lunge, modified low lunge, which is also excellent for the psoas. And did I add warrior one, Virabhadrasana one? But first, balance. So lift your right heel and draw your belly in a little. Don't collapse, but stay upright with your belly in. And then hands on your hips so you can tell you're not rocking side to side. And lift your knee, toe touch. So again, this is like doing sit-ups for your psoas muscle. Use your front body to support. You can also have your fingers on a chair or a wall. So here we go. Lift, toe touch. This time we'll lift and hover. So lift, take your hands out, arms up maybe, ribs down. Start pose. And then toe touch and come out. Shoulder roll up, back, and down. So we had deep flexion here when we were doing that. So now let's take that very same foot behind us and rotate your thigh in. Draw your tailbone down towards your heel. Relax your shoulders. And we're not bending. We're just going to tip. So lift your back toes and tip. Square up your hips. If you need to come down a couple times, it's okay. This is a variation of Warrior 3. Rotate your thigh in. Draw your front body into your back body. And toe touch. And step back up. All right, roll your shoulders. Let's do the other side. So please support yourself with a chair or a block or a wall. I mean, a chair or a wall if you like. So from the side, it would look like this. Hands on the hips. Be careful about leaning back. Stay nice and tall. Lift up your heel to the left foot. And then lift your knee and toe touch. Let's do that again. Press evenly through the four corners of your standing foot. Lift your knee and toe touch. And have a sense of humor about it. One more. Lift and hover or toe touch. So to come up into it, again, the hip bones are level, belly's working. We're not leaning back like this. We're standing up nice and tall. You can just have your hands out to the side or at your heart, or you can bring up your arms alongside your ears. One more deep breath. Bring your arms down if they're lifted. Take your toes back, touch, rotate your thigh, draw your tailbone towards your heel, stand upright, the little micro bend to your standing knee. And then we'll just keep this long line like a plank as we tip. Doesn't have to be very far. Drop your hip, pull your belly in a little, and just float for a moment. And toe touch, and step up. And we'll kind of shift a little side to side. Okay, so Warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. We're all very familiar with the Virabhadrasana 2. You see it all the time with the knee bends. Beautiful pose. Warrior 1 gets us a little bit deeper into the psoas. So let's explore that. So again, I'm going to do this from the side. So we'll step back with the right foot. And when we come back, we'll drop the right heel. So the toes angle, front foot straight ahead. And then make some adjustments to your heel. As best you can, rotate your right thigh in a little. Align your pelvis as best you can. Again, remember, as best you can. Bend your front knee. Lift your belly. Bend your back knee a little bit too. So as you can tell, as you get familiar with this muscle, that extending back like this, we're getting quite the stretch. Okay, now lift your belly a little towards your back. Bring your hands to your heart. And this might be your Virabhadrasana 1 warrior stance. If you would like a little bit more, then bring your arms up to a V. Bring your front ribs in, but lift your chest. Anchor through your back heel. Take a few moments to enjoy. And bring your hands home to your heart. Now lift your back heel and rotate. So now both of your toes are pointing straight ahead. Bend your back knee a little bit more. Lift your belly. Little bit of a high lunge balance pose. And then step up and do a little walkabout. Little lap around your mat. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, of course. We want to bring balance into the body. So from your Tadasana mountain pose, roll your shoulders and step back with your left leg. Now for me and for many people that I work with, the warrior one stance is a little narrower than the warrior two. But again, make it your own. Heel to heel alignment or a little wider for many people. So you can walk your foot out. And then there's this little moment of adjustment. So you might want to lift your back heel so your toes point a little more forward. Bend your front knee, adjust your stance as you will. Lift your belly. So we want to be careful we're not collapsing here at L4, L5. There is a little swoop of the spine, but as we pull the belly in, we create space here. And perhaps you might notice the hip flexor on your left leg is beginning to awaken a little deeper. Here we are in our stance. Keep your hands on your hips, bend your back knee a little. You can keep your back heel slightly lifted if that's better in your body. And again, stay right here, enjoy this expansiveness. Or bring your hands to your heart and bring your arms up into a V. Now again, when we get here, we want to bring the front body in a little, the belly, the ribs, but lift the chest. You can look up through your hands or straight ahead and enjoy your Virabhadrasana. Bring that right hip back a little. Draw your inner thighs towards one another. Beautiful. And then bring your hands slowly back home to your heart. Take a breath. Bring your hands back to your hips. Lift your back heel. Rotate your foot. So now both of your toes are pointing straight ahead. Bend your back knee a little. Hollow out your belly. Linger. And step up. And again, do a little walkabout if you like. Beautiful. Come to your mountain pose, Tadasana. Roll your shoulders down. Palms forward. Create a little symmetry in the body. And enjoy. Let's make our way down to the mat again on hands and knees through Utkatasana chair. But today, if you'd like to join me with a block, take a little bit of a sort of a squat position and place the block between your thighs. I'm going to do this one facing you. So the feet are also blocks distance. Hands are on your hips, shoulders are down. And when we bend the knees, okay, I need to do this from the side. So when we bend the knees, this is not chair. Chair is about the hips going back. And chair is not this, the belly down. Chair is we kind of sit upright. So I always think of a zigzag. From the crown to the tail, from the tail to the knees, from the knees to the heels. A little zigzag in your body. So come into it. Draw your belly in a little bit. Bring your hands to your heart. And then extend your arms if you like. Roll your shoulders away from one another. Find your breath and then exhale, fold. Take the block away. Come back onto your knees. So if you like, again, using a blanket beneath your knees, we'll do a little bit of a low lunge variation. So as we come to stand on the knees, Move my blanket away. Step your right foot forward. And you can do this by using your blocks if you feel a little precarious. You can just step your right foot through. Now your back foot is also important in this pose. We want to press to the top of the back foot. So think about this as being like a kickstand. And then come up. Bring your hands to your hips. Try to level them out. Lift your belly. Press through both feet. Bring your right hand to your right thigh or keep it on your hip maybe. And open your left palm. And come up and over. So again, we're getting into that deep stretch here, this muscle. Square up your shoulders. Lift your belly towards your back. Press through both feet. Take a nice sweet breath. Pull your skull back. Inhale up and exhale down. Bring your hands back to your hips again. Square them up. Lift your belly. Draw the pubic bone a bit towards your navel. And then we'll do a little twist. So open your palms. Rotate your heart towards the right. Bring your left hand across to your thigh. Try not to pull it in. Press through your foot. Bring the back of your left hand to your sacrum. Draw your belly into it and rotate your heart. Stay nice and tall. Press through both feet. Have a smile on your face. Unwind, come back to center, fold forward, find your blocks or the floor, bring your knee down, and from this place you might want to do maybe a downward facing dog, or maybe a cat-cow, whatever you like, or you can come right into the other side. Okay, shoulders down. So we'll step. Where were we? I think we'll step the left foot forward. Here's your blocks if you want to use those to come up. And when you look at your feet and your knee, your front heel right underneath your hip and your back knee straight down. So there is a little space, like you could slide a block in between the foot and the inner knee. Take your time, we're not in a hurry. Press through the back foot. Come up to stand. Press through your front foot. Bring your hands to your hips. Kind of think about your left thigh rotating a little bit under, but square up your hips. Lift your belly. Press through both feet. Let's keep the left hand on the hip and open the right palm. Come up. Relax your shoulders. And it doesn't take a lot, so just come into your comfort level. Bring your front ribs down. Square up your shoulders. Press through both feet. And when you're ready, come up and down. And again, kind of square everything up. Energetically pull your left foot a little towards you. Notice how that resonates in your pelvis, but find neutral. Float your palms. Rotate your heart now towards the left. Bring your right hand across the back of your left hand by your sacrum. Lift your belly towards it as you rotate your chest. Keep pressing through both feet. And slowly return back to center. Find the floor. Come back to hands and knees, table pose. Move your blocks out of the way. And again, a luscious cat-cow. Inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. So again, inhale, cat. And exhale, cow spine. Now walk your hands a little forward. So now you're a bit of a modified plank. Lift your belly. Get your shoulders right over your wrists. Point your elbows straight back and lower your heart nice and slow. Or come down any way that you like. Extend your legs. Come onto the top of your feet. Stack your hands and rest. Take a breath. So again, we'll do just one more movement for the psoas muscle, but it's important at this point that we create stability again in the pelvis. So draw the pubic bone down, the very top of your upper thighs down. Extend your arms, kind of like a Superman pose. Look down. You can watch me one time. Lift up your left leg, draw your belly in, and lift up your right arm. Exhale, lower. Let your forehead touch. And then do that. So it's opposite arm and leg, and the pelvis stays grounded. So lift the leg, opposite arm. Exhale. One more on each side. Lift the leg, but keep the pubic bone pressing a little as you float. Look down. Exhale. Last one. Float the leg, lift the arm, look down. Exhale. Bring your hands beneath your head, rest. Bend your knees and flop the feet a little side to side. Bring your feet back to the floor on the top. Bring your hands beneath your shoulders. Bring your elbows in. Draw your chin a bit towards your throat, and again, pull that energy in a little bit more to the L of your hand. Inhale up as you push down through your hands, come up through Bhujangasana Cobra onto your knees, and exhale again, sink back into your version of Balasana Child's Pose, and stay for a breath or two. When you're ready, you can linger there much longer if you like. There's more for you to explore. But from your child's pose, come up and kind of swish around and come back to sit with your feet on the floor. Have your 2 blocks ready. Lower yourself down. And pause. Right where we started. Walk your feet in so your ankles touch and your knees touch. And again, just push down with both of your feet. Lift your low back like a palm's distance, and then release. Draw your shoulders away from your ears, back of the hands to the floor, and swish your knees a bit to the left and right, into the sacral sway. To the right and to the left. And bring the knees to center. Bring your right knee up and your left knee up. Bring your hands to the inside of your shins. Wrap your fingers on top of your shin bones. Move your knees a little away, but relax your shoulders. Open your knees. Not pushing, just let the weight of them go, and hold on a little bit with your hands. Also a lovely thing to do for the carpal tunnel part of your wrist as we come into upside down frog pose. Relax your shoulders. Find that sense of balance across your sacrum. You can do a little tiny rock back and forth. It's just a minute movement, and then settle into stillness. This is a lovely sacroiliac balancing pose for your SI joint in your low back, especially after our warrior Virabhadrasana 1, where we were exploring asymmetry and how to get into symmetry, and also with our low lunge. Let's bring the hands to the outer knees, help the feet up, and then bring your feet to the floor one at a time. Walk your feet back in. You were just here, and your knees in, and sway again a couple times. And when you're ready, you can keep swaying a few more moments if you like, but when you're ready, come into stillness. Open your knees, bring your feet together, and tuck a block behind each knee. And so this is the tell for this. If when you slide the flat block behind the bent knee, just the corner of it, you still feel like the pelvis is being pulled forward, then take your blocks to mid-height. And when your low back settles, you know you've got it. And I'd say for most people, a block is a good thing. Wiggle your shoulders apart. Come into stillness, and as you arrive, check in with your feet. Big toe to big toe, all the way down to your little toe, the outside edge of your feet, your heels, and then relax. Relax your shoulders. Turn the back of your hands to the floor with your palms up. And begin to surrender the weight of your body to the pull of gravity. Relax and release. If you would prefer to extend your legs long into the classic Shavasana for a few more moments, go ahead. But since you're supported with these blocks, you can linger here. This becomes more of a yin pose, as that we hold it a little bit longer with support. And when you're ready, from whatever position you've landed, if you're in Baddha Konasana, like I am right now, help your knees up, bring your feet to the floor. If you're in the classic Shavasana, bend one knee at a time, and roll to your side. Come up to sit. In any way that you like. You can sit up, especially cross-legged, sit up on a blanket, or if you're coming into variations of hero's pose, sit up on one or two stacked blocks and roll your shoulders up, back, and down. Plant your palms. Take a moment to arrive. Reach your fingers out and a little behind you. Turn your palms up. And as you inhale, scoop up. Bring your hands together, bend your elbows so you create a temple over your head. And as you exhale, bring peace to the mind, strength and health to the body, and love and compassion to your heart. So we bow softly forward to one another. Namaste.